We are open for business, said probably by the employees of Corbett Field and the South Hill softball complex. Ain't that right? We're finally starting to see local sports come back. Kind of getting into that groove of normalcy again. And we're just getting into ours. So welcome again, guys, for version 2 of the Minot Sports Podcast Summer Series, a production of KMSU TV and Radio. Corbett Field has seen no shortages of baseball action, with both the Minot Vistas and Metros beginning a full season, so no changes, no need for adjustments to the schedule. They're diving right into it, full speed ahead. And Corbett's been busy opening up the baseball season for Minot. The Metros facing a team that isn't at the Class A level when it comes to high school contests. Don't be fooled by the Max and Garrison combo, because they just unloaded a beating on the Metros. A tough opening for Corbett Field's first baseball games of the season. Metros dropped both matches 9-7 and 11-4. I was not there for it, but those two games did mark the opening, like I said, for the new baseball season here in Minot. Some games that I were a part of, the first game day for the Minot Vistas, they started on the road in Williston, but the Metros stayed at home again, facing off with the Mandan A's for their second doubleheader set of the season. And it would be a much different outcome against Mandan as compared to what happened versus Max and Garrison. So it turns out for game 1 for the Metros versus Mandan, they were trailing. And the pitchers, looking at my notes here, Tyler Buchanan and Leighton Ludwig, they were keeping them in it. Like, this was an opportunity for the Metros to get it going offensively. Well, they didn't disappoint. They came back down. It was 3-2, and all of a sudden, they find themselves winning the game 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th inning, which immediately, when you surpass the team that is leading against you, that's ball game. Simple baseball rules, but you guys probably know that. So a nice little comeback story for your Metros in Game 1, and then Game 2 was just no contest, as they would take it 14-4, actually finished off in 4 innings. That's how quick it was. I liked the resiliency of this team, of this Metros squad. They definitely proved that they can show up when it matters. Although Garrison Max was not the start probably any of us wanted. A nice little rebound like this early in the season, that is a good sign for much better team morale improvement and just overall team play. Better overall games to come. They showed that they can play some hardball with ya. Talked a lot about hardball last episode. Hardballers like the Fargo team specifically. And we're going to continue with that, because the Minot Vistas, after defeating Williston 7-1 and 6-4, so a good start on the year for your Minot Vistas. To do it on the road especially is even more impressive. opposite turnouts for the Metros and Vistas, but it would kind of be a little bit of a role reversal, because when the Vistas, for their first few home games, they would face off with West Fargo, didn't do so hot. And with the top division for Legion Baseball, the final score in Game 1 between Minot and West Fargo was 17-1. You'd think there'd be a mercy rule, but they continued gameplay. Chase Burke was the only positive to come out of that thumping, as he hit a home run. The first home at bat of the season is a home run from Chase Burke, and Minot only gave up a few runs at the top half of the inning, so they were still in it at the time, but eventually West Fargo just came in and just absolutely blew the doors away. But Chase Burke showing off that strength of his, little bit of that wrestling and football strength probably added into it. But I'm telling you, that score, man, that spells out hardballer. And although it was pretty much less overwhelming in Game 2, West Fargo still played, again, that hardball for Minot to even try and muster anything. But they only got one hit coming off from Braden McCarty, and that was the only thing that, well, maybe a few walks here and there, but that was the only bit of offensive capability for the Vistas in Game 2, as West Fargo continued the day on with some more defensive shutdown ability. 4 runs to nothing, not as much as 17, but they still did enough to suffice. So both the Metros and Vistas started the same through their first 4, just kind of got their different path. But not to worry, because the season is still fairly early, and each team is getting settled into their respective seasons. And that worry aspect may also come where you just might have to face the defending champs, which that is what happened with the Vistas early in the season. But it didn't turn out as bad as West Fargo series turned out. Against Fargo Post 2, Vistas, yeah, they did lose Game 1 12-3, but remember that talk about rebounding and being able to bounce back, just like the Metros? Yeah, that is what the Vistas did in Game 2 with a solid 3-1 turnout. So yeah, the bats weren't as active, but all that mattered was they got enough offense for their pitching and outfield to get the job done versus a tough opponent like the defending champion Fargo Post 2. And then Watford City concluded the first weekend of baseball back in Minot with a doubleheader series and another split. Watford City taking Game 1 9-2, but then Metros, here comes that rebounding effect again. 10-0, mercy rule, game is done in just only 3 innings. So that kind of seemed like an effortless response, but a nice finish and solidified the night on a good note. And so we are just beginning baseball for the 2020 summer season. To add on to it, some more baseball news coming from the Souris Valley SaberDogs. They unveiled the official schedule for the 2020 season. It will consist of 52 games, home and road games split in half, and with the announcement from the league saying that there will only be 6 of the 10 teams playing, they decided to split each division. So in the Lewis division that the Saber Dogs are in, it will be them, the Pier Trappers, and the defending champion Badlands Big Sticks. And then in the Clark division, the Fremont Moo, Hastings Sodbusters, and Western Nebraska Pioneers. So in 52 games, those are the teams that the Saber Dogs will be playing to open their season. Right away, an intriguing matchup, 3-game series versus the defending champion Big Sticks out over in Dickinson. And then the first home game versus the same Badlands Big Sticks on June 29th. Word is that the regular season will be done kind of around mid to late August, with the league championship series being a best of 3, and it looks like it will be the winner of the Lewis division versus the winner of the Clark division automatically into what they have for the playoff bracket, which is only the championship series. That will be in a best of 3. So this is a situation where unusual to see, but for the Saber Dogs, if you win the division, you get to head straight to the championship. Sometimes this COVID event has been operating in unorthodox ways. Let us be thankful that the Expedition League can push out some baseball. And for us in Minot, that's just more to add on to what we already have with the Metros and Vistas at Corbett Field. So that's pretty exciting. Shifting over from baseball to the other diamond-shaped turf at the South Hill Softball Complex, the Minot Storm, for teams 14U, 16U, and 18U, they hosted the Minot Storm Invitational of the 2020 season. And what a nice job done by all the crew working together to provide quality fields for 92 games, from the Minot Storm to the Bismarck Bombers to Williston, Dickinson, BGMR Gators from Minnesota. They were there. I think Mandan was available to play too. But a great tournament, great turnout, and great games, of course. For the games that I was able to make it to, the Minot Storm, although not the designated home team against the Bismarck Bombers, this is for 18U Division A, and so Minot didn't do as bad. They held them in a close race, starting off with an early opening run in the first inning, but they would have to find a way to regain traction, and they now find themselves down 3-1, which they managed to find a way to make it competitive. Middle of the 4th inning, they tied it at 3, but then Bismarck would just take it themselves the rest of the way, and the final result was a 7-3 clincher for the Bombers. But watching that game, the Storm did indeed keep within range of striking distance. But unfortunately, Bismarck got the better end of it. They'd move on about each other's businesses in the tourney. It's a better outcome for the Storm on the final day of the tourney. They faced the BGMR Gators from Minnesota, and that game produced a better solution for your Minot Storm, as they came out walking away winners 11-5, and I hear that BGMR goes hard in baseball and softball, and an unusual opponent like the Gators from Minnesota, you gotta appreciate the time and effort they took to get up here, play some fun softball, and just enjoy the experience. So a strong finish for the Minot Storm 18U team in the tournament. And congrats to the 14U Division A team, champs in their division of the tournament. And so there you have it for the sights and sounds of the sport of ball being thrown furiously towards a bat. And so far, so good. Not too bad of a turnout for the activities that we've seen so far. So, what a start for the easing, slow return of local sports. If you don't mind, allow me, in this episode, to introduce to you guys a new segment that I like to call This Week in the Recruiting Roll Call. Let me explain to you what it is, the Recruiting Roll Call. This will highlight all incoming MSU athletes, the seniors from Minot High, Bishop Ryan, and R.E. Deemers that aren't committed to Minot State but are still going into college athletics. This will also apply for the Minotaurs and Saber Dogs as well. So if you are a Minot sports athlete, soon to be or current, going to play athletics for Minot State, or going elsewhere for college, or coming in via recruitment or draft from either the Saber Dogs or Minotaurs, this will apply to you. I will send out a message on the social media accounts if you want to be featured. Beings, we are heading towards the fall season of sports. Most of the recruits have been official by now, but if you want to be featured, let me know and I will get your name on the list. But this week in the recruiting roll call, I'm going to turn this into probably just a once a week thing, but because it's a new segment, I think I'll just do it once today, maybe once for the next episode, and for the episode after that. I haven't decided yet, but I will think of something. This week in the recruiting roll call, Minot State women's basketball officially announcing their recruiting class of 2020, starting off with Kate Head, a guard from Ipswich Girls Grammar School in Brisbane, Australia. Another Australia connection, Natasha Elliott from North Lakes State High School, also from Brisbane, is a guard, can also play forward. From Mandan High School in Mandan, North Dakota, Kennedy Harris. The Majets have probably seen her on a few occasions. She is a guard. Faith Brintle is next from Council Grove High School at Alta Vista, Kansas. She is also a guard. From Northland Community and Technical College in Perham, Minnesota, Janie Wunderlich, another guard. Amber Stephen from Bismarck, North Dakota, originally played for Bismarck State. Transferring to Minot State, she is a forward. Another local from Killdeer, North Dakota, Sydney Anderson, also from Bismarck State. She is a guard. And lastly, from your R.E. Deemers Knights girls basketball team, Haley Roberts staying home. She is a guard. Also an ND Lions All-Star. This week in the recruiting roll call, because they have a low number of recruits as of right now, assuming there are more on the way, let's take a look at your Minot State men's hockey team. From the Dolphins Kings of the MJHL, a defenseman, Braden Pollock. From the Columbia Valley Rockies of the KIJHL, a goaltender, Riley Wallace. You can add another goaltender into the mix, Zach Johnson, from the Hawkesbury Hawks of the CCHL. A former captain, hailing from the Wayways-Sakapa Wolverines of the MJHL, is Nick Doyle. He is a defenseman. From the Portage Terriers, also from the MJHL, is forward Carter Barley. And then defenseman from the team where Easton Bennett used to commit his services for, the Steinbach Pistons of the MJHL, Dylan Cassie. This week in the recruiting roll call, Minot State cross-country track and field from Helena High School in Helena, Montana, Grayson Bonilla. I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. I will make sure to get it right at some point if we ever meet up, Grayson. But he will be doing distance running. Coming out to us from Cypress High School in Kearns, Utah, doing sprints is Connor Bishop. Tony Smith from Booker T. Washington High School in Tulsa, Oklahoma, also doing sprints. From Century High School, not in Bismarck, North Dakota, but in Rochester, Minnesota, Zachary Mann, another sprinter, added to the team. And then today, Seth Hymas from Rock Springs High School in Rock Springs, Wyoming. He'll be altering between sprints and jumps. Again, guys, if I butchered your names, I apologize. Again, if we ever meet up or see each other in time, I'll make sure to get it corrected. And that concludes the first segment of this week in the recruiting roll call. Because I only did so many for track and field, or rather the same amount from this past week, I'll make it up to the rest of the track and field athletes, and for all other of you athletes out there. I believe I mentioned this already. I will post something out on social media later if you want to get involved in this segment. If you want to be featured, let me know, and I will gladly make arrangements that will be set for the next episode. Calling it at that right there. Thank you guys for checking in on episode 2 of the 2020 summer series. As the Minot Sports Podcast is always a production of KMSU TV and Radio, sponsored by Joshua Strong Photography and the MSU Red and Green newspaper. Happy Promptemic to all of you Minot High students out there. Hope you all have a good day. I'll talk to you later, and take care.